Hi, everybody. I want to talk to you about the final paper in English 101, the critical evaluation essay. In the week 14 assignments, I do have a link to the sample essay. I also have a link to the rubric, and those are the two items I want to discuss with you right now. So if you open that sample essay, you will see the format and the headings and the basic kind of essay that you need to produce. This is your final paper, so I expect your APA formatting on the title page to be perfect. So please look at the sample, look at the page number, look at how the title is, where it is, notice the extra space here, notice the kind of information you're putting on that title page. Moving to page 2, notice that you repeat the title at the top in bold. Please notice that all paragraphs are double-spaced with the first line indented. And please also notice this first sentence. The first sentence of your essay should follow this model so that it clearly shows the article that you are evaluating and its overall claim. The remainder of the first paragraph would be a summary of what was in the article that you are evaluating. So you can look at this sample to see how that is woven together, how it is made clear that this is the information from the article by using author attribution. So here we have Lang traveled, first according to Lang, Lang describes, etc., etc. At the end of the introduction, you should give your overall evaluation. In the sample, that is listed as a brief second paragraph. You may do that, or you may include it in that first paragraph after the summary. Either way, you want to make sure that you clearly show whether or not you believe the author's argument was made effectively. Next, you will come to the evidence section, and you must have a heading that is centered in bold, as you see here. In this paragraph, you're going to use your planner to discuss the 3 pieces of evidence that you are looking at, as well as any fallacies and the counter-argument. You can use the model that you see here in the sample, where there is a paragraph for each piece of evidence, and then a paragraph that deals with the counter-argument and the fallacies. However, you can paragraph this section as you wish. So if you want a separate paragraph on the fallacies, a separate one on the counter-argument, if you want to rearrange things, those are choices that you can make. Either way, throughout this section, be sure to clearly cite any information you use from the article. And be careful in terms of how you quote, how you introduce a quote, as well as paraphrasing. So read through the sample because you'll see some good examples there of quoting and paraphrasing and providing citations. When you come to the counter argument, this is where you will be using the article that you found to show an opposite perspective or an opposite claim. And so make that clear where you introduce that article so that it is now clear what information is coming from that article versus the article that you're evaluating. And of course, quote and paraphrase and cite properly. The next section is language use, and you need a heading for that. You'll be using your planner part 2 for this section, and you're going to discuss the language choices that the author made. And again, this is the article you're evaluating. So remember, the article that you found is only used in the counterargument. So you'll give information from the article that shows the tone and other language choices, again, following your planner, being careful to cite as needed. Next, you'll come to author credibility, and this is where you're going to find out a little more about the author and the author's credentials and education. You had to look up information, probably from the author's website, so remember that you need to cite that information. We need to have the author and the year. If it's the author's website, the year is probably going to be no date. So you can read through the sample and see how those citations are done and how the author's credibility is discussed. Also in this section, you should discuss worldview bias and assumptions. So you could put a separate paragraph for that. Again, giving information from the article to back up what you're saying. That brings us to the conclusion, which will be a paragraph to restate whether you think the author was effective or not, and explain why, based on evidence, language, and credibility. There should be no citations, no quotes or paraphrases in the conclusion. It is just recapping what you said in your essay and providing closure. Your references page needs to be formatted correctly using the hanging indent, double spaced, references in bold at the top, and make sure that you arrange your sources alphabetically by the first word in the entry. You should have the article that you are evaluating, the article that you found, and the article you used, which is probably the author's website, to look up information about the author. Okay, so once you have looked at the sample, be sure to also look at the rubric and look at the exceptional column to see all of the things that we want to see in this essay. This is how you will be actually graded. It tells you the point values for each criterion, and so you want to read through that to make sure that you are not missing any essential component. All right. You can read through the rest of the instructions for week 14. I think they're fairly self-explanatory, but I did want to talk to you a little bit about what that final paper will look like. If you have any questions, let me know. Also, notice that you are signing up for a conference before you turn in your final paper. So read those instructions very carefully. Contact me if you have any questions.